Hey, this is my YouTube channel. Obviously, you can tell that I've pretty much had it as a ghost town for a long time. I think my best video or my most watched video was I Know a Guy. So if you haven't watched that, seen that, I think it'd be a good one for you, especially if you're now catching me from the veteran community. It'll be something I think that you guys can relate to. I am in hopes of building this thing back up from the ashes and being more on YouTube and making it a little bit more steady. One thing I will let you know is you may have heard, like, those dealing with mental health issues will sometimes write a journal, and this is how they can basically clear their thoughts, say what they got to do, everything like that. I hate writing. That will only make things absolutely worse for me. I will sometimes kind of do like a little diary of digital notes, typing on my phone. But even then, I start to get bothered by it because I feel like my thoughts are faster than what I can write. They are faster than what I can text. I know why me saying I'm bipolar, somebody be like, well, now you got to watch out, you're being manic. No, it's always been me. And not only that, from a very young age, I don't know, we can argue all day when bipolar hits people. Psychologists sometimes say it hits them way younger. But from a very early age, I noticed that people who were able to speak very well and control an audience and do all that made such a difference. Quotes are great. They are. Look at the Constitution of the United States. It's the foundation of this country. The Bible, foundation of modern day religion. I get it. That's great. All that. And I understand how powerful words and books and all that can be. I'm tracking. But I'm also letting you know that for a lot of those things to get going in the direction that they did is by the people that initially spoke those messages and those words. You look back sometimes on some of the most famous speeches that were ever given, and it'd be just interesting having somebody else read that speech, and then you just sit there in the back of your mind being like, would that have moved me or motivated me the same way coming from that person? And another good way to understand that and notice that is, that's why some people have joke writers, because they're funny, but they wouldn't be able to deliver the joke the way that the comedian is that they wrote it for. Or you see it sometimes, you're not supposed to see it, but you see it sometimes that comedians will take jokes from each other, big frowned upon, but it just doesn't land, right? Like that one person, you're like, man, that was funny. Then somebody else says it, and you're like, that tone, that inflection, everything else that you have doesn't work. So this is my therapy. This is how I word vomit. I get everything out. The reason I say all that is because, please bear with me, that in a lot of videos you're going to see they're going to be unedited, they're raw. Two reasons for that. First, foremost, and I feel most importantly, is especially dealing with mental health, I want you to feel like you can be completely yourself, completely just spit out your thoughts. Sometimes you just can't overthink. It's just going to cause you more issues. So again, it's just word vomit. Here it goes. And that way, maybe it'll get more people to share their content because they won't feel embarrassed. They'll see me going, like, oh, that guy just said, like 100 times, or he said, like 500 times, or as you just caught me, I feel like I gotta spit something. And I'm like, hold on, let me get that. You know, it's just like, oh, if that guy can do all that, well, I can do it too. The other reason why I like to have most of the time it unedited is what a lot of people I think have lost with social media is they don't realize that the content they're receiving is whatever they are given. They are now allowed for an individual to do what big corporations, newspapers, movies, music, and everything else has ever done to you before. It now allows each individual to do what all those people did to you for millions of years, basically. And you're like, what is that? You can edit yourself. I'm like, ooh, I said that. Hold on, delete, drop that, edit that on the video, put all that, and this is what I said, this is what I meant. Here it is, here's my precise, awesome message. And so you may sit there and be like, wow, this person's really a good person. Gotta love technology. I'm right in the middle of talking about not editing my videos, and my iPhone storage is killing me. So, let me just go off the cuff here and say what I was saying. Basically, it is, you may think a person is a certain way, and they're really not, and it's just because they're feeding you what they can feed you off of social media. This is all I have for my introduction. I know it was a little bit of a lot, if that even made sense. I'm now going to continue where my thought process was back in Greenville, North Carolina. I'm now in Virginia. So it is going to be edited, but it's only edited because technical problems. I've been having issues with iPhone storage. I need to work on it. Look, I'm a baller on a budget. Next iPhone I buy will have more storage. But I've been doing a lot of delete, merge over, do all that good crap. So, baller on a budget problems. All right, but I'm gonna continue that and then drop this first YouTube video that I'm looking at maybe doing a weekly series. Not sure yet. We'll see. All right, peace. One of the toughest things that I have noticed dealing with the mind is you can't sit there so much and try to take away how someone feels. You know, sometimes I get online and I get the tough love, which I understand. Got it. I'm tracking. But that becomes rough on me sometimes because tough love is what got me in trouble in the Marine Corps, or at least with the command that I was with. It's where I feel bad also. You know, if you catch a certain video or a certain point of me, you might be like, wow, like, this guy's anti-Marine. And then other times you might, catch me on another video and you're like, man, this guy hasn't let the Marine Corps go. So, it just depends on when you catch me, I guess. But it's just hard. Because with a mental wound, I'm not even going to say mental health issue or mental illness. I'm going to say a wound. There's no set standard or set time or how that's going to heal or if it's ever really going to completely heal properly. Like if I got into a car accident tomorrow and it completely damaged my hand and I got on Instagram and you saw that it was all like casted up my arm, like I broke my arm, all that, right? And you see it and I'm doing a post like this. Now, could there be injuries for the rest of my life? Like I may not be able to do things like I did the day before the accident? Yeah, there is. But at the same time, I mean, you could see in a couple months or however long it is, I don't know, I haven't really dealt with that injury, but you could see me then suddenly being on Instagram and I'm, because now I'm not in a cat, yay. But up here, we don't have anything that says like, yo, I'm broke, I'm damaged, I'm whatever it may be. Hey, today I am sitting there being like the rudest person ever because I'm just having a moment. We don't have those things, right? And to me, that goes, if we want to do something about mental health, then it's about a two-way street on communication. This whole I'm a badass alpha male thing, there's a time and a place for it. Like, I'm not going to definitely say we should get rid of that. Like, nope, I come up with some old school stuff myself. So that's going to be a tough one for me to say we should throw that in the garbage. But there's a time and a place because you have to be aware of how that person reacts to it. But that's what I'm saying. It's got to be a two-way street. And I know that can be hard. But you can't sit there also and allow yourself to be talked to in a way that you're not comfortable with, or the situation's bothering you because you feel like you're going to be judged. Man up or woman up and say it. People don't know what they don't know. And at the same time, especially, I would say in the military, but it's somewhat same what I've seen in the civilian world. If there's still production is what's key in anything. As long as there's still production, there is no problem. Let me rewind that real quick. As long as there's still production, there is no problem. Therefore, if I come at you and I say 100 things crazy and sideways to you, yet you still produce, you're giving me the impression everything is still okay. Now, is that right? No, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? And that's the same thing that you deal with even in a regular job. If you're sitting there and you're like, man, like this boss just be riding me and this boss be bugging me. But if you're producing, there it is. What's going to be the worst thing that happens if you speak up for yourself? Well, you might get fired. Been there, done that. Unfortunately, yeah, I understand. I have a luxury. I have my retirement from the Marine Corps, and I understand that I'm in a different situation than a lot of people. But I guess there's different avenues, a lot of jobs have their people that you can go into, and I like how I'm having a brain fart so somebody can comment later. EO is what we call them in the military, like your equal opportunity person. HR, there you go. I was like, man, I'm feeling like I've been programmed. But no, it is just sitting there, and it becomes really tough when you're dealing with it. Ever since, so I had such a roller coaster when it came to selection time for Gunnery Sergeant, right? First off, let's begin with, it was COVID. So this message and everything that comes out is usually in May. Boards have now already been pushed back. And I just needed that security of the next rank for a multitude of different issues. I wanted to start a family. I don't know where my ex was mentally at the time. She tells me that she wanted to start a family. Her actions tell me differently. That's not a jab at her. I'm just calling a spade, I guess. And I've said it in other posts and other stuff that, I wasn't doing all the right things either. So, I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I'm a saint, because I definitely am not. But we had a certain lifestyle that we lived that I really enjoyed, as far as like, we'd sit there and be like, yo, you just want to go watch this NBA game, or, go check out a football game, or you want to hop on and go see some national forests. And I mean, money wasn't really an issue for us. I mean, I had some debt that I had to get rid of, so that was the thing. Like, I was like, okay, I got to get rid of some debt, and I was balancing that. It was a juggling act, but I was like, all right, like, I'm got a little bit of this because things I had paid for before. But I was like, if I have kids, I want to make sure that I have enough stuff for them to take care of them the way that I've always wanted to take care of having a child. So I really want to make Gunny. On top of that, what a lot of people don't realize is once I made it past 4 years, now my eye was on being as good or better than my father. So it's like a joke. My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years. I went into the Marine Corps. The more badass. He retired in the Air Force as an E7. I mean, at least I could match him at minimum. So there was that. That was just my own thing. That was just me to motivate. It's what I think people don't realize sometimes. Michael Jordan was good on it. Some of these other guys are good on it. You find weird, obscure things to motivate you, because if you don't, you'll do nothing. And I can tell you that for a fact, because if you look at my fat ass right now, you will know what it's like to not give yourself any thing to motivate you, because you've drank so much Kool-Aid now of get out of your head. Don't talk about yourself like that. No, you're not fat. You have to heal on your own time, which I'm not saying is wrong. Please don't take it as I'm saying it's wrong. But I'm saying I have drank the hell out of that Kool-Aid, and now I'm like, that's foul. That is foul. And what are we going to do about it? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But the reason why I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do about it is that's another thing, and we'll discuss that more. I mean, this is my YouTube long post. I probably could have started off with that, but yeah, whatever. And I'll be cutting and hashing and throwing some stuff on to some other social media platforms. But I wanted that for Gunny, right? So board's delayed. We got COVID. I'm listening to Junior Marines, Sergeant and below, complaining about having to work all the time when their admin brothers were getting like half days, and these other MOSs were getting half days. You're seeing the reports, because part of our billet was we had to go up to the command center and sometimes pull the reports for COVID. So you see that you're in the hotbed of COVID. Like, there for a little while in Hawaii, MCBH was fine. I guess by whatever COVID standards you want, it was fine. I mean, we had very minimum numbers being at least reported, right? But Kailua, that was right outside of us, and then Kanoa Bay, I probably mispronounced that, and people make fun of me that I do. Sorry, everything was called K-Bay over there. But both of those sectors were pretty much hotbeds for COVID. I understand my MOS is not the most important MOS in the world. I understand postal is whatever to whatever people. I get it. I'm a pogue. Cool. To me, my mindset was, how could we take away any services in our right mind and expose the public to outside the gate? Like, we now were kind of being able to do something that you do kind of in a combat zone. Like, you can choose to drive out. Like, nobody was telling you you can't drive out into town. But I'm not telling some dependent with her, little baby that she's got to go out in a hotbed of COVID when she can still just come to the base because we're still running our normal hours, normal times, and we are constantly cleaning. Gosh, like, COVID cleaning was like field day on steroids. And so there was that, there was that. I was explaining to people, a lot of people don't realize, like, when we were in Hawaii, at the COVID time, I mean, you're walking down the street of Kailua and, like, you would see cops stopping people for not wearing a mask, like, out on the road. This is Hawaii. People are like, oh, you're in paradise. I was struggling. I'm like, we got COVID. I got these people complaining. And then on top of that, I have the chief warrant officer who so a little backstory. I had created the Facebook post office page. You should go look that up. Marine Corps, K-Bay, Hawaii, whatever, Facebook post office page. You know why I said whatever? Because it's gone now. Because, we made sure that got deleted. Whatever. But I created that. That was my claim to fame. Created that, and the reason I created that is because I just know that people use social media. They're big on social media. I figured, let's just make life easier, centralized, then I can lock it up with the community page. We're all there. Because we had done some passport fairs and things prior to COVID, so it was really, really big. When he first checked in, he was already all up in the page as far as, like, do you think this is something that should have been posted? Do you think this is something that should have been posted? Like, why do we have, like, humor in it? Stuff like, dude, get your corn cob out your ass. Like, people enjoy this page. There's a lot of people, and then all that, I'm like, when we started peeling back the onion, because I had to get awarded for the page. I knew that was going to be trouble, and I told him that. I was like, I don't want to be awarded for the page. The Marines are going to think I'm doing stuff just to get awarded, and I'm not trying to get awarded. But anyways, I just had to be awarded for this page. So we peel back the onion, and he's like, Facebook business tells you, who's on your page. And he's like, well, why do you have, like, these places all over the place, like in the United States, also come into your page? And I said, because I'm a part of all these Facebook groups that are in the military also. So I'm like the postal guru, I guess. Like, I'm not, but I am, Like, hey, if you want a one-stop Marine Corps post office question and everything else, like, inbox me, all that. Like, I will answer and do whatever. Oh, you're doing all that? Yeah, whatever, I'm doing all that. I don't care. It's something that I enjoy to do. It was something I personally enjoy to do. And not only that, it allowed me to do staff sergeant things. I'm not up the junior Marine's ass. I'm not up the sergeant figuring out what they're doing, right? Like, that's not what a staff NCO needs to be doing. I don't need to be up in your grill. Sorry. And I'm just letting you guys know that, some of you junior Marines, that some of you that cry that you want your daddy or your granddaddy or whatever out on deck, fail. And the reason why I'm saying that is fail is because back in the day, like, that's where you felt good. If you had no idea where a staff sergeant was, thank you. When you saw all the staff NCOs at your office all the time, you were a turd. Things were about to go down. Things were not to be happy. And unfortunately, somewhere in the Marine Corps, we decided too many incidents or whatever it is, staff NCOs swarm back in there. And that's a whole nother tangent for a whole nother video I can do one of these days. But I feel like, you know, real quick, summarize it. I feel like that's why certain people are not the leaders they should be, because they've been micromanaged by the leaders above them, which is what this chief warrant officer is doing to me. So why do you have this? Why do you have that? So COVID obviously hits. COVID hits. You see what I'm doing right now. I've been, like, I started getting into video more and more. I don't like to be behind the camera. I'm like in front of the camera, as much as that may surprise you. I'd rather be behind it, as far as like letting somebody else do their thing. I don't know. I have my weird, like, where I'm okay with attention and where I'm not. But, you know, I hop on and I make a video real quick of what's going on with COVID, what our standards are going to be at the post office, all that. Shoot it up. It's flying in my office. What was that? What was what? Post that you just made. It's a video post breaking down everything that they need to know about what they're going to do at the post office. We've got to go to Comstrat. I don't know if you know how this works, sir, but one, that's a lot of work to get with Comstrat. Two, I'm consistently following the rules of the Marine Corps order on social media for my page. It's a unit page. And time is not of the essence. Like, we don't have all the time in the world. It's COVID. Things are changing. There for a while, I was doing a video probably about every other day, because depending on which base you were on, you might be able to understand it with me. There was just those weird different changes, you know. Were we going to be 80 feet from each other? Or were we going to be 2 feet from, you know, what kind of mask? How many times do you have to rub your hand? We didn't freaking know. It was COVID. It was chaos. It was whatever. I'm like, I just want to get promoted. I just want to get promoted, because from what I understand, and I could be wrong, so somebody that's way smarter than me could tell me this. This is gonna sound really shitty. I wanted to get promoted as far as the professional side, because I've always heard, like, your first fit rep in that new rank really doesn't matter. And I was so ready to just move the hell on from dealing with this jackass that I just didn't care. That I was like, let me get promoted. Yay! Do my thing. And then, I mean, I wasn't going to change how I work, but I was going to change in my, like, I guess I was going to change a little bit, because my care was going to be a lot less. I was going to be like, bro, I don't, what are you going to do? Give me an adverse fit rep? Like, I don't care. You know, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to the EO. I'm going to do all these things. Like, now I'm going to stir the pot. And I regret that I didn't do it, but there's so many things that I seen in my career that I was worried about being blackballed. I mean, the gunny that was there at the time, so it was April 1st is when we had basically the shutdown. What was it, April 1st, 2021 is when, or, yeah, I think so. I don't know. I ain't worried about the exact year at the moment. But it was April 1st. I remember that. Haha, April Fools. He gets told he's no longer PCSing for a moment. He's on delay because everything had been shut down with Hawaii, the Marine Corps, all that stuff. All right. Oh, that didn't matter. Nope, not to this chief warrant officer. He had already pretty much made so much tension between me and this gunny, who actually me and him got along, that it was now uncomfortable for him and I to be around each other. Because it was like, there was just a lot of stuff. There was a lot of underlying issues that I did not like, and it was what it was, and I felt like we were starting to be like high school drama, and I was getting annoyed. But anyways, so he's now stuck in Hawaii. Okay, well, we have that billet that I talked about where we were rotating up at the command deck and doing all the COVID numbers and stuff like that, and basically we were doing this rotation, because the way it worked in Hawaii, it was like admin, staff, NCOs, and postal. We were all together in the one group, and we'd go over to there. Chief Warrant Officer was like, bet. Do you need somebody for a full-time position? Got the man for you. And threw the gunny up there. Now, right off the jump, way back when, Gunny and I already knew our personalities were different. We got along, but he was, you know, I joked around with him a lot of time. Like, you always show a lot of Gunny love. I don't do a lot of that. That's not, I come in hard and then I'm going to be nicer once you do what I need you to do, which is whatever. But now the dynamic becomes even worse because your Gunny's basically up the street, exiled by the Chief Warrant Officer. I've now become the Chief Warrant Officer's crony, even though I'm trying to do my best to not do that. The kids have lost their daddy, because again, he's been exiled down the street. It was just a hot mess brewing. And I started to lose control. I was having issues at home. I was constantly drinking. And, you know, part of the other issues that I was having at home is, you know, no fault of her own, but, you know, my wife at the time, I mean, she was a junior Marine. And so, like, I didn't feel like I could turn the Marine off, because you think about it, when you come home, you vent about work. Peer-to-peer is probably a lot easier from what I remember, because I did do a little bit of peer-to-peer. I dated when I was a junior Marine, you know what I'm saying? I mean, but I was never in a really, really serious relationship as somebody in a junior status. But I mean, when you talk, I mean, obviously you're all dealing with the same crap. Well, now, here you are, you're at one level, they're at another level, and it's not like you're above them or whatever, but it's like, some things, and gosh, I hate that I'm even gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, but it's almost like being an old guy. Some things you just don't understand until you get there, because you've been complaining about it at this level. Trust me, I've been there. And I feel like, I hope, 90% of the stuff I complained about, I got rid of when I got to staff NCO. Like, you know what? I ain't doing that crap. And I didn't do that. I'm hoping. I could be wrong. But I'm hoping I didn't do that crap. But there's some stuff, it's just like, it's the nature of the beast, big dog. Nature of the beast. So when you come, so you're listening all day, you know, well, why do we got to do this? Why do we got to do this? Why do we got to do this? I don't know why we are allowed to ask why so many times in today's Marine Corps. Not trying to sound like that staff NCO, but I'm sitting there like, and again, why are you dealing with me? Like, I don't understand why we're so just that level. And I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to me. But again, I was just sitting there like, like even when I was deployed and we were because when we were deployed in Fallujah, we had about as many Marines as we had in Hawaii. And it's like when our staff sergeant came around, and our highest rank on our second half of our deployment was us, the corporals. So even when the staff sergeant came, we're like, what do you, go back, go drink some coffee. Like, get away. We've got the deck. You know what I mean? So for me, it was weird where it was like, you know, I got a Chief Warrant Officer being like, well, you need to get out. I don't need to tell it. No, let them do their thing. And then, so that means, because then I'm like, that's going to lead them to just as, which we don't need. But then I go home, so I've been listening to whatever I do. I'm just trying to relax. And it's like, you know, so Staff Sergeant's got me doing this, or, you know, Gunny's got me doing this, or, you know, Master Gun's this. And it's like, and so you're listening to your conversation and your wife, and like you're struggling because pretty much everything coming out of her mouth goes one of two ways. Either one, you're like eyeballs twitching because you're like, that doesn't seem right. That seems like somebody's overstepping their bounds. That seems like I almost want to be like that hovering staff sergeant husband that would suck and go into your command and say, they can't do that. But but you already have said, and I already know, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to give you special treatment? We both have agreed on that. But I'll give you options. Like, I'll be like, okay, like, that just doesn't, something doesn't seem right. But the times that I struggled the most is when I'm like, you're just crying. You're just crying. And on top of that, I'm not trying to be rude, but you're wondering why some of your Marines are stressed out and stuff like that too. Outside of boot camp, MCT, and your MOS school, you never lived in the barracks. You showed up. You went straight to base housing with your husband in staff housing. And all that, you're in staff housing. I'm not saying it's so much better, it's so much great, it's whatever. It's like, you're not even around your peer group. So it's just like, you walk around with like this status. And I mean, like, the neighbor, I don't remember if the neighbor worked exactly in her shop, but I know they were in the same command. Mal's is big. But you know what I mean? Like, and he's a staff sergeant. So it's just like, you're living like in their world, and you don't understand, like, the junior Marine world is a whole nother world sometimes. You know? Like, you're not understanding because you're not with them. Like, you were able to go live the high life. But again, all that is going on. All that is going on. And so, the day, I think it was like the day before the message drops, I don't even remember why I was in the post office that day. Because I finally was able to talk the Chief Warrant Officer into trusting the newer Marines. And we were going to split into sections. And I wish I still had the email. And I don't even know who I gave it to. But I split them up into sections, and all my people leaving. So see, I worded it wrong on the email. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's where screwed me. But all my people leaving, who also happen to seem like my troubled ones because things had changed, were going to be on his crew with the Chief Warrant Officer. And then the new ones were all going to be with me. Now, the real reason I did this is because I wanted to see who was going to be what first. I was going to see if my troubled ones were going to get basically thrown under the bus by the Chief Warrant Officer, which I kept fighting him anyway to be like, no, like, we don't need to NJP these Marines. These things, like, we got it. Like, let's just get them out the door. They're getting ready to PCS, EAS. We're good. So I was like, you know, let's get them to go that way. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Daddy's like, I've been in the middle, and you don't understand. I've been in the middle, and I've been stressed out. You know what? If you get NJP, not my problem anymore. Or if they would turn around and they would request mass on him. Because then I'm like, then I could jump in a different type of role. I felt like I was protecting myself. But at the same time, I also knew gunny board was now, I mean, we were already there. Like, there was really nothing, no going back now. So I'm like, okay, if my Marines request mass, I got their back anyway. I'm always going to have their back if they fight. It wasn't that I didn't have their back then. But now I can really just be like, all right, let's go do this. So it's our first day that the other crew is in. Like I said, I don't know what I had to come in for or whatever. And it's me and the sergeant of the other crew. And we've had a weird dynamic since Camp Pendleton. And he sent an email, and I just wasn't in the mood that day. Not gonna lie. I wasn't in the mood that day. We had to clean up because of COVID, like usual. And he had like a dip cup and stuff like that on the gross dip cup that was on his desk. But on top of that, like the chief warrant officer had come out and said, so I mean, the dip cup is whatever. But, I mean, obviously that's trash. Like that's not what he was complaining about. Like the sergeant. But a chief warrant officer had been like, because he had seen the dip cup, he's like, all right, we got to clean up. Everything's got to get picked up, all that other stuff. So, like, the Marines are just putting stuff away. I mean, I don't know what they're doing on deck. Like, I don't care. It's on deck. Not my problem. Like, I don't know where every piece of paper is that you individually have. I don't care. I shouldn't need to care. So that sergeant comes in and sends this email. Because I guess apparently he had some papers on his desk that he did not want moved. Now, I think I would have felt a little bit differently had he said, hey, Marines, I had some piece of papers on the desk that I use, and I greatly appreciate if you could have reached out to me, or talked to me, or done whatever before you move them, or given me a note to let me know where you moved them. Anything like that, I think, would have really kept me a lot calmer than I was. But he said, you will not move anything without my permission on my deck. And I had a PTSD flashback to Corporal Spedden of like 2008 Fallujah hazing type yelling stuff. Like, your deck? Your deck. Like, hell no. This is not your deck. And I just unloaded and showed clear and just berated him. And it was just me and him in that office. And I just walked back in. I just walked back in my office and he stayed out on his. And I was just trying to get out of there as quickly as I could. But I heard him. He was just on the computer. I already knew. Like, I already knew. I already knew because I knew him. Like, that's the thing that kills me. Like, I already knew. Like, I'm not hating on him. It's like I knew. I'm like, you requesting masks, you doing all that. You're like, and I'm not taking credit for it, but at the same time, I'm kind of laughing because I'm like, who's the one that told you all this stuff when you were sitting there in Pendleton? Like, who is the one that pulled you to the side a couple times and told you this is what needs to be done at your level? Like, you doing to me the stuff I taught you to do, which is great, but at the same time, you're taking it out on the wrong person. So it's like, it goes, and I mean, I just, might have even been that morning I got the phone call that I got selected. I don't know, but I mean, they were within just like seconds of each other, like basically within a day. And I knew things were just going to be different. I knew I'd have to fight this case. But I wasn't overly worried about it, as bad as that sounds. I was like, I know my Marines. I know all that. We'll just move forward. So then, I sit there and they call me up. I'm the staff non-fire on the range. It happened to be the anniversary of the day my mom died. And they're like, hey, when you get done with the range today, you got to come in and we got to discuss about us moving forward with this, charge sheet. And you got to sign it. Man, I broke. I was just sitting there bawling, like right before I went to go be the staff non-fire. I mean, because I was already feeling some type of way about, my mom passing. And so, I went and I did the staff non-fire thing. But it's kind of like where I start off on like this video. I'm like, you don't know what anybody's dealing with. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm around guns everywhere. I'm gonna go out like this. I'm gonna go out of the Marine Corps like this. This is what you all gonna do to me. Bet. And I show up and I start like reading all these charges. And I'm like, okay. the assault. I don't like doing some of this stuff. But after doing this IW hike, I feel like I've got a vent. Because I was talking to some lady about it. She was talking about, like, you know, a lot of mental health people that like to journal. And this is my journaling. So the assault. So this is going to go way back, and then we'll come back to where we just left off. So when I showed up to Hawaii, this Marine had just gotten his green belt in McMap. And I said, oh, you know, back in the day, when you get your new belt, you face somebody of the same belt that's been around for a while to show like you really earned it. And he's like, oh, okay. I said, you want to go out and we scrap? And I was like, yeah, like that's fine. You know, because we had a McMap instructor. We had two McMap instructors in the post office. So they were, you know, the one was like, yeah, you know, I'll watch. And it's like, yeah, like no problem. So I go out, and it was funny because the McMap instructor that I had was just like, you really like paused a lot, didn't you? I was like, yeah. I was trying to remember like what's legal and what's not legal these days anymore in McMap. I was like, sorry, I came up on a little different side. There was some things that are allowed and, you know, things that are not allowed. Kid tapped me out, no big deal. But we like mess with each other, you know, in the post office off and on after that. It's kind of like our thing, like a little joke. And then he goes to Australia, and he comes back, and I did like a karate chop. Like, I mean, because that's what we did. We like sneak up or do something, and this is what we did before him going to Australia. And he comes back, we do it, and it's just like that look on his face made me know, like, you know what, we ain't going there no more. Something's changed. I don't know what's changed. Apparently this isn't what you want, and that's fine. Like, squat, you know, I mean, and again, I could see somebody being like, well, you guys should have never had that. We can go circles all day long about joining the Marine Corps in 2004 and what it was when I left in 2022, especially what it was in frickin' Hawaii. So we can go round and round all day what's right. And then you were a staff NCO. Like, okay, then I also look at what my staff NCOs did. Well, that doesn't make it right. Again, we can go in circles. I'm not going to go in circles all day with you. Just letting you know, that's where my brain was at. So as we're picking up the story, it's me just letting you know where my brain was at and dealing with the Marine. But the issue that I had was things going on behind the scenes. And that's what's tough. I mean, if you've seen my videos, and I've said it before, you know, they're like, well, when I first showed up to the legal office to go over my case, you know, they said that, you know, you had 3 NJPs available, basically, in a sense, for, you know, all 3 Marines that press charges on you. You know, why didn't you do that? And I'm like, I mean, that's not my thing. I'm not saying that to say, like, look, I'm a freaking hero. I'm not. Maybe that's what you think I'm doing, but I'm not. I'm telling you, these are the facts. These are where they were at. I could have been that staff NCO that you hear about in all these videos and all these Marines complain about. It wasn't my choice. I'll say, you know what? We're going in a different direction. Pain. But it really wasn't pain. It was me vocalizing stuff. But I had other stuff I didn't even like say during the investigation. There's things I didn't even do to my Marines that I could have done. I walk in one morning and I was like, what's going on here? And I'm like, what, Sassart? Are we running a McMap course? Well, Sassart, now remember, this is during COVID. Could you run McMap courses during COVID? And I just knew what it was like to be in their shoes. And I knew that they needed stuff to keep them going because of the growing tension that we were having, and there was nowhere to let it out. Because I was becoming unbearable, and again, it goes back to where, I guess in hindsight, I should have just said, I'm going to throw it up there and I'm going to hope for the best that the command's going to back me up against this chief warrant officer. But history had told me it doesn't really work very well over there in Hawaii. Because the other thing is that I haven't even discussed at all in this video, but again, the way that our command worked is we were a part of Marine Corps Base Hawaii Headquarters Battalion. However, we also fell under these GS guys that would get involved, and they would have their PP contest with the headquarters battalion on how people are going to do stuff. It was funny that if they liked you, they could get stuff just kind of whoop, swept under the rug. But if they didn't like you, you fried. Funny how that works. Those dudes are still there. They're not going to get removed. So that becomes the fight also. You know, all I got to do is buy the time. They're like, yeah, well, I don't care about you, CO, because this is my job. I'm locked in. So you're sitting there and you're watching like what's happening to the gunny, and they pretty much like, yeah, whatever to the gunny, like, you know, don't care, you know, and he brings up his complaints. So I'm like, okay, I'm a staff sergeant. What's that going to do for me? Like, I need more people. But unfortunately, I had a different approach than the gunny. Because the gunny basically was like, hey, like, this is coming from the chief warrant officer. I was kind of doing, I guess, quote, the more professional thing that I had always been taught, where it's like, look, it's coming from me. And I would say it was probably 60-40, maybe even 70-30 as far as he was giving most, and then I was going there. Because I really wanted to relax things for my own personal self, and then I just knew how the Marines were going to react. I always hope that I have that junior Marine mindset. So, I mean, they're doing the big map, and I'm like, oh, I don't see it. I go, but you can't run anything in the S3 until COVID's over, and it's got to be at least a couple weeks after COVID. Like, you can't be like, oh, surprise, we're now like, I'm like, all right, appreciate it, Staff Sergeant. You know, thank you. But you're like, really? Thank you? Because what thank you did I get out of it? And I'm not saying that that means I automatically have a right to do stuff either. But again, I hate that it's I don't know how many other leaders have ever had this problem, but it's where we started to have, I won't even say it's old Corps versus new Corps. Like, I mean, they even have business classes for non-military, for even just the changes in generations on how they handle stuff. So it's like, I'm not saying that like I can get away with doing a lot more, but I just handed this to you on a platter. So like, I mean, I could have taken it away and like went and fried you. Training, COVID, because especially COVID, they were ready to NJP fools all over the place for anybody who did anything that broke COVID restrictions. And again, I wasn't trying to do that. That was not my goal. The other issue I had, though, on the legal side is I keep bringing up this chief warrant officer. So I think I got it on Twitter. If I don't, you can check out my Twitter. Let me know. Or X, however you want to call it. Pretty sure I got it. My original letter that I sent up, basically asking for my case to get looked at again, my appeal. If I don't, like I said, let me know, and let me see if I have the original. I'm really hoping I do. I hate I deleted a lot of emails because I just want to move past this, and obviously there's times that I haven't. But I broke it down per Marine, you know, because I ended up getting a copy of the investigation. I like how they blind out. I should have been like, you know how I'm a decent staff NCO is that you blacked out all the names, and I literally know who each Marine is. And that's on top of the statements that were given by other Marines as witnesses. Like, I want to be like, I know this was this Marine, because I know my Marines. That's what you're supposed to do. There was no shockers. There was no, I wonder who said this about me. I knew. So, but in my appeal, I took all the Marines that were coming after me, the 3, said my bit about them and like what they had done good and bad. But I had this big section about the chief warrant officer and things that he had asked me to do and all that. And I said, yeah, that's not really a good look. You should take that out. Damn, I should have known better. I mean, what's the worst they could have done to me? I mean, I already ended up getting court-martialed and knocked down. Like, what else? I definitely wasn't going to face the break time for saying he was a schmuck. Maybe he wouldn't have got promoted. I don't know. But I just sat there and I was like, yeah, sounds good. And so I don't want to go too much further down the rabbit hole because I do want to start putting this whole thing to rest. I want to take this weekend with IW to be a catapult to move forward. I want to, when I do my YouTube videos, to discuss current events, maybe some things in the past, but not like this past. Like I'm saying, like in the past week. You know, things I've seen, things I observed. What my YouTube channel is exactly going to look like. Still going to work around and try to figure all that out. Trust me. I know I get into tangents and I know where I left off. So we're going to get you where I'm going to wrap all this up. But I definitely want to get back into being a mental health advocate. I want to get back to peer-to-peer stuff. Because again, after this IW hike, I really, really enjoyed hearing people's stories. Me giving my story out. It was really powerful and it was really good. And I want to continue to do that. So, mental health stuff, but just talking sometimes, just my normal opinions, normal things like that. If you guys care, that's great. If you don't care, that's fine too, okay? If you like the stuff, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. Again, you do you, not force anybody to do anything. All I'm trying to do, you know how I'm looking to get paid? I'm looking to get paid because somebody feels better. Same reason why I did stand-up comedy back in the day. So, IW may have given me that sense of belonging that I've been missing for the last 2 years. I don't know. Keep with me. Keep following me, and I'll let you know if it's definitely taken that spot. But like I said, I feel a lot better after the hike. And the reason why I keep pausing is because it's just really hard for me to trying to, like, in my head, say what I want to say without sounding like a complete douchebag, but I know that's what I'm going to sound like. So, not just mental health, but in life, it really helps to have a support system. You can only do it so long alone. And even when they tell you, you know, hey, at the end of the day, you've got to be there for yourself. Nobody's going to help you but yourself. Like a lot of things that you hear from the mental health side, it goes back kind of earlier to what I said in this video. And I'll take like a David Goggins, for example. And if he ever sees this, he can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's like a David Goggins and a Michael Jordan. You still got a support system. You still got people helping you. The reason why is because, again, it depends on how you wire your brain. So some of you might be like, what do you mean? I'm saying, like, a lot of the vibe I get from David Goggins is even if that dude doesn't have somebody next to him, he's got a whole thing right now where he's doing a haters competition that he's getting ready to have. So it's like you yourself who is on his Instagram commenting. So even if he's not out there, it's like he feeds off, he grips something to feed off of. So he could be in complete solitude, but for him, he's playing the hate. He's playing that you were fat. He's playing, like, that's how his brain goes, and that's how he's competitive, and that's how he's good. And I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for myself. That used to be how I was. And then, like I said, I started drinking the Kool-Aid of, like, get out of your head, accept who you are. And I got to change some things. I know I got to change some things. But the other thing for me is I also became very dependent on my person. Like, it was kind of nice having a person, and she was everything. And to sit there, and as I'm going through everything I'm going through, and I guess she was there in space physically, but mentally and everything else, she was gone. She was already ready to file those divorce papers, even though she hadn't even told me yet. They were in her bag, so she was way ahead of the game, ready to go out the door. And I had no fight. You know, and I mean, I'm not trying to blame the person. Like, she had to do what she had to do. Do I agree with it? No. Do I have a feeling about it? Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty adamant on Twitter, some of the things that I feel about it. You know, do whatever you got to do. But, you know, I ain't going to do somebody like that. But it is what it is. But that's where it hurt me. That's where it hurt me, because I had to fight. Because I knew I was taking on all these people, and I just needed somebody next to me to give me a hug, whisper in my ear, and be like, no matter what happens, I love you, and I'm going to be there for you. Nope. I knew I wasn't going to have that. And as we know from other videos and other things on my social media, when I broke and I went to the psych ward, I came home by myself to an empty house. Yep. I love my family, so I don't want them to ever get it wrong. It just, she pushed buttons. I don't know. There's just something about somebody loving you and caring about you that doesn't have to. Like, I've got my best friend from high school, and there's times that it's like, he's more of a best friend than he even realizes, because why do I gotta matter to him? You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what's awesome. When a person that, I mean, there's no investment, there's no nothing. Like I said, I think in one of these little spills, I'm a baller on a budget. You know, I'm not dumping him a bunch of money. I haven't hooked him up with a bunch of things. You know, it's like, what do he got to do for me? He does it because we're bros, man. We're brothers from a different mother, you know? I mean, so that's great. But there's certain things that we don't have because he didn't serve. And that's not a knock on him at all. But that's, again, why she was my person. Because it was everything. We watched sports together. We watched TV shows together. We served. It was just a very perfect match that I screwed up. I know it takes two. I've kind of said my piece about her on Twitter, said my piece in some other videos. But that's where I wrap all this up, saying that what I need to do, and I advise you, but if you don't do it, that's fine. Find those things to motivate you again, but those things that you can't solely rely on a person for. But you kind of do, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So when it's those haters or somebody that said something to you a long time ago or whatever it is, prove them wrong. Maybe prove yourself wrong. And go out there and motivate yourself. All right? But if you made it this far, thank you. I will try to do much better the next time. Like I said, I Know Guy is apparently a big video. And I'm going to push that back out there as far as recommending that to people. So have yourself a great day. Looking that this might become weekly. I don't know. But anything you want to let me know, drop a comment. I respond. I am Spedden_77 on Instagram, and I am Motivation with Spedden on the TikTok. And then obviously I'm Motivation with Spedden here on YouTube. So like, comment, follow, flip me off, whatever floats your boat. Talk to you later. Peace.